Assalamualaikum everyone. So my name is Rahul Rasool, and thank you Nisam for giving such a wonderful analogy regarding what feature cleansing actually is. This was a very good way that you told about it. I think everything is visible. So just to introduce myself. Just to introduce myself, I work for a company named Data Science Dojo, which is based in Seattle. I am a data scientist who works remotely for them. So basically my company, what they do is that they give data science training all across the US and around other parts of the world as well. And that has actually given me experience to design content for various corporate employees. Moreover, I've been also working on several consulting projects which range from healthcare analytics to policy analytics, where we are making some helping government in policy decisions as well. So this actually gave me a lot of experience across a range of domains. While my experience actually is just limited to 1 year, I was graduated last year from NUST as an electrical engineer, but seeing the potential that machine learning has provided, this is what actually brought me closer to it. So one thing that we should actually realize is that AI is one way which we could, an industry that we can easily disrupt. So when we are all figuring out that what should be the possible ways of increasing our exports and clearing out our import-export deficit, I would actually say that AI would be one way where any industry can actually grow exponentially. In the next 3 to 5 years, you would actually see that if you are not a data-driven industry, you would be in great loss. So one of the greatest authors of a book named as The Master Algorithm, Pedro Domingos, he actually said that while we are all aiming to become data-driven, feature engineering is actually the most important thing, the most important aspect when it comes to designing a machine learning model. So this actually gives a lot of importance to what I'm going to tell today, that unless we don't have clear features, we won't be able to make good models out of it. And that is why what we've actually seen that around 60 to 70% of our time is actually used in feature engineering. So I've been working for my company, and even I've asked my executives who've been working for like 5 to 10 years, and what we've actually noticed is 70 to 80% of our time is actually used in cleansing our features. So now it is very important to clean them and to work ahead with them. So the first important aspect is incomplete data, missing values. How do we deal with missing values? And this is something that probably it won't be in your hands for various reasons. So before coming to that, I'll be giving you some examples as well, some examples using Python programming language. And the data set that I've used is the adult sensor income data set. So what this data set is actually doing is that it is predicting if on a set of features, for example, age, occupation, relationship, if a person would be earning more than $50,000 a year or less than that. So this is what the data set is doing, and you can actually get this from UCI's machine learning repository. It's a very famous repository that you can use to get several data sets. Now, what causes these missing values? So a lot of things are not in your hand. So as Vishwa said, that you need to have domain knowledge, and particularly when you are conducting surveys or doing different kind of feature extraction methods, what you'll actually notice that a lot of people might not be filling their survey questions properly, or when you're transferring that data or digitizing that, you'll be missing a lot of things, or maybe those data might get corrupted. And then it is also important, after these things, it is also important to classify what kind of missing values they are. So first of that classification is missing completely at random. So this could be just data missing randomly in the entire data set. An alternative would be missing simply at random, and in that case, what you would actually see is that the proportion of missing values would be different for every kind of group. For example, for males, probably there would be less missing values. For females, there would be more missing values. So that could be a situation of missing at random. And then finally, something that we must actually worry about is that what we actually worry about is that when the values are not missing at random, they are actually related to something else. For example, if you are doing a study on particular disease, and you're actually trying to diagnose people. So what you would actually see that some people might not be comfortable with telling you the entire details. People might not be comfortable telling you their BMI or sugar level, and that would actually relate it to an unobserved variable, that is comfort level. So what it says is that, or maybe when you're asking someone about their salary, so again comfort levels come into it. So these missing values are not at random, they are related to something which we haven't observed. So this is actually why we need to identify missing values. Now the problem that these missing value causes is firstly that a lot of machine learning algorithms are not robust enough to actually remove these missing values. I mean, when you introduce them to these values, they would not work. So if you use LDA, which is linear discriminant analysis, its cyclic implementation would actually fail to work. It won't work if there are missing values in a data set. Moreover, missing values can also reduce the power of your data set, of your model. It can actually impact the final result that you're getting. And that is why we need to go ahead and we need to solve these missing values now. So the most popular ways of doing that, first of all, identifying that missing value. So Pandas has a method which is called the describe method. So you can use the Pandas describe method to get a summary statistics, and that summary statistics will allow you to get a whole statistics of the entire data set. So for example, if you have numerical data and you see that the minimum value is 0 for category age, then it would tell you that age can't be 0, so probably that is a missing value somewhere. And other than that, Pandas also provides is-null function. So is-null function can actually help you identify all those missing values that have been marked as none or nan. And more importantly, the thing that I need to mention is about nan. So nan is actually a NumPy attribute that allows you, it is a marker where you can actually mark your missing values with a nan. So that helps you in a lot of calculations that we are going to discuss further. For example, the attributes that I was discussing regarding the adult census income data set is that when I was using the is-null function, so is-null function actually gives you Boolean values. So for example, it would tell you that particular value is missing or not. And when I use a sum attribute with it, it will give me sum of all the missing values. Remarkably, it shows 0, but when I did some value counts, I was able to see that there was a question mark that was placed as some value, and that is-null function wasn't able to detect it. So what I did, I replaced this question marks with the nan, and that told me that work class and occupation have around 1800 missing values, while native country has nearly around 580 missing values. And when I was telling about summary statistics, this is one example. So if you see some of the values are 0, but counting with capital gain and capital loss, we can understand that they could be 0. It isn't something unique. For age, we see the minimum is 17. However, if age or probably age would have been 0, then that wouldn't have made sense, and that would have been clearly a missing value in the data set. So these are some ways to detect what missing values are there in your data set. So what do we do? First of all, the most easiest thing is that deleting those values. So we do list-wise deletion, that is, we see if there is any row with a missing value, we will delete it entirely. So this is the most easiest thing that you can do. Other would be pairwise deletion, that only that missing value would be deleted, not the entire row. However, I would actually recommend that method because it is quite complex to deal with further on. And then other thing would be to delete columns. So if there is a column that has around 65 to 70% of missing values, then certainly you would say that this column might not be needed in your analysis further. And while deleting, you can actually use Pandas drop-NA function, which actually removes all those values that contain, removes all those rows that contain a missing value. If you use Pandas drop-NA with a specific column, then it would only remove those rows which have missing values in that particular column. So for example, if native country had missing values, a drop-NA function would have just remove all the rows where missing values were in native country. Other than that, there is simple impute. So simple impute actually means that you are, instead of removing those values, you are imputing them, or you are replacing them with some other variable, with some other value. So that could be, in simple impute, that would be mean, median, or mode. So we particularly use mean or median when it comes to numerical values, and mode probably is used for categorical values. So value that is rising more frequently, you would actually impute that for all the missing values. And a case would be that you could either do it for the entire data. So for example, if I am imputing age as missing values in age, I would take the mean of the entire age category and impute them wherever the value is missing. Or what I could do is that I might take age of males and then impute, take an average of the male age and impute them, and do that similarly for females. So that is a specialized case that you can do. The problem here is that simple impute actually might ruin that bias variance trade-off in your model, and that is something very important to maintain. So every step that you take, it is though it is better than your deletion, because you aren't compromising on the data set. You still have a lot of training data, but it also has some cons related to it, which is that it introduces some bias in your data set. So scikit-learn has a popular imputer class. You can use that imputer class. You can just set a few parameters, and it will give you, it will impute mean, median, or mode depending on what parameters you gave in your entire missing value. So for the data side, I actually created for the occupation and for the native country variable, I plotted the value counts. As you can see, there is a question mark there, which actually tells that the number of missing values. Similarly for the native country. So for imputation, what I actually thought that because native country, nearly 90% of values is United States. So what I thought that taking that high mode would be beneficial to place the missing values in the native country variable. While for the occupation, it would have been difficult to choose a mode among these. As you can see, there are several categories that have the same level, same proportion. So I preferred deleting those values. So I'm going for a very simple implementation right now. And as you can see, what I did was that I found out all the variables that were missing. Then for the occupation part, I actually removed all those variables, as I said before. And then similarly, what I did for the native country is that I filled it with United States, because this was the most frequently occurring value. And then you can see that now we don't have any missing values right now. And then after this, one more useful method would be using a prediction model. So that would actually mean that instead of using mean, median, or mode, or any other imputation method, you predict those values using the variables that you already have. So you can use a linear regression model, and then for the variables that already have complete values, you can use them. You can treat them as your probably your feature set, and those variables that are missing values, you can treat them as your test set, as your label set. And then you can create a training set and a testing set out of it, and then predict values for all the variables that are missing. And this is actually a bit better method, better than mean and median. But what actually it does is that if your distribution isn't linear, then it will cause some kind of bias, and it won't be really precise. So that is one con related to it. And then lastly, KNN imputation. So this is a bit complex method, but it is quite easy to implement. KNN implementation, what it does is that so for all those variables that have missing values, it will see that how is it. It will use the KNN implementation and find what are the nearest neighbors to it. So how rows are related to each other, and based on that, it will fill all those missing values. The benefit of that is that it is very good with all kind of variable, whether you're talking about categorical or ordinal or probably numerical. KNN implementation works really well for that, and the only disadvantage that you can have is that it actually takes a lot of time and it is quite memory intensive. So before moving on towards the next point about dealing with categorical data, many of people would ask that what would be the most proper method to use. So I've actually asked a lot of experts regarding it and searched a lot of blogs related to that. And what I've actually seen is that it is better at this stage to experiment with these things, because there is no certain way you can say that imputation with KNN would be better than mean median mode. It could be other way as well. So what I would suggest is that you experiment with it. You have some intuition about it, and using this intuition, you just wrangle with these values, and you might actually be able to discover that what is the best. Next, so categorical data, and what we actually would be talking about is encoding this categorical data. So as you can see, इसकी importance ये होती है कि it would actually help you in boosting the performance of your machine learning models, specifically in decision trees. क्योंकि कभी डेटा में ऐसा आप जब कोरिलेशन क्रिएट कर रहे हैं तो कभी वो सही तरह कोरिलेट नहीं कर रहे होते, तो कैटेगोरिकल इनकोडिंग से ये होता है कि आप और काफ़ी मशीन लर्निंग एल्गोरिथम्स ऐसे होते हैं कि जिसमें न्यूमेरिकल वैल्यूज ज़्यादा प्रेफर की जाती हैं। तो अगर आप उसमें स्ट्रिंग वैल्यूज यूज़ करें या फिर आप कैटेगरीज यूज़ करें जो टेक्स्ट हैं, तो उसको न्यूमेरिकल इनकोडिंग करने से आपकी मशीन लर्निंग एल्गोरिथम की जो परफॉर्मेंस है वो काफ़ी बूस्ट होगी। तो अगेन कैटेगोरिकल फीचर्स होते हैं, मोस्ट ऑफ यू माइट बी अवेयर, लेकिन ऑर्डर चल रहा है। लेकिन अगर मेरे को नेटिव कंट्री के यूएस से बिलोंग करें, जर्मनी बिलोंग करें, तो उसमें कोई ऑर्डर नहीं है। तो दैट इज हाउ यू डिफाइन द ऑर्डिनल एंड द नॉमिनल, और इसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग होना जरूरी है इनकोडिंग के लिए। तो ऑर्डिनल इनकोडर एक मेथड है जो हम यूज़ करते हैं इनकोडिंग के लिए। उसमें ये होता है कि अगर हमारे पास कैटेगरीज है, फॉर एग्जांपल कि मतलब बैचलर एंड मास्टर है, देन द पीएचडी, देन वी कैन एक्चुअली असाइन ऑर्डिनल वैल्यूज टू एन इंटीजर टू एवरी वैल्यू। तो हम बैचलर्स को 0 असाइन कर देंगे, मास्टर्स को 1 और पीएचडी को 2। तो इस तरह हम इसकी इनकोडिंग कर रहे हैं। और अपने जो डेटा सेट मैंने आपको दिखाया था, तो उसमें मैं वर्ड क्लास की इनकोडिंग कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को 0, प्राइवेट को 2, और इस तरह इनकोडिंग करके मैं इसमें न्यूमेरिकल में शिफ्ट कर रहा हूँ। वन हॉट इनकोडर इज स्लाइटली बेटर अप्रोच, बिकॉज what you can actually see कि even though I'm encoding them, probably अगर मैं समझे डेज ऑफ द वीक को कर रहा हूँ, अगर मैं मंडे से लेकर मंडे को 0 कह रहा हूँ और मैं संडे को 7 कह रहा हूँ, संडे को 6 कह रहा हूँ, तो इनमें डिफरेंस, हालांकि मंडे और संडे में एक का डिफरेंस है, लेकिन इनकोडिंग ऑर्डिनल इनकोडिंग के से ये होता है कि उनमें जो डिफरेंस है वो 6 का हो जाता है। तो वो एक जो ऑर्डर क्रिएट हो जाता है, दैट कैन एक्चुअली इम्पैक्ट द एंटायर मॉडल। तो उसके लिए फिर हम वन हॉट इनकोडर यूज़ करते हैं। तो वन हॉट इनकोडर करता ये है कि वो हर वेरिएबल को एक कॉलम दे देगा, हर कैटेगरी को एक कॉलम दे देगा, और अगर वो कैटेगरी वहाँ एग्जिस्ट करती होगी तो उसको 1 असाइन कर देगा, नहीं करेगी तो 0। दैट्स द मोस्ट सिंपलेस्ट वे यू कैन डू इट। लेकिन एज यू कैन सी, वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट डिसएडवांटेज फॉर दिस इज दैट अगर हमारे पास 50 कैटेगरीज होंगी, वी वुड हैव टू क्रिएट 50 सच वेरिएबल्स, एंड दैट वुड एक्चुअली बी बहुत ही मेमोरी इंटेंसिव काम हो जाएगा। बाइनरी कोडर would solve this problem. तो बाइनरी कोडर करेगा क्या, that it is more memory efficient. वो करेगा क्या, that for if you are assigning value of 1 to United States, तो वो उसकी बाइनरी वैल्यू जनरेट करता है which is 1, and it will spread it across columns. So for example, if France has a value probably 8, तो वो 111 करके which is 7, sorry, फ्रांस को 7 असाइन करेगा, और या क्योंकि 7 वैल्यू के लिए हमें 7 वेरिएबल्स की जरूरत नहीं है, we just need 3 columns, और हम फ्रांस को इंपोर्ट कर सकते हैं with 111, फिलीपींस को 001. So that is a more suitable approach to go ahead with. And then target meaning encoder. तो target meaning encoder में इसलिए लाया क्योंकि ज़्यादातर कैगल कॉम्पिटिशन्स में जो विनिंग टीम्स होती हैं, उनका मैंने एक पैटर्न देखा था कि वो मीन encoder को बहुत ज़्यादा यूज़ करते हैं। मीन encoder इसकी सिंपल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है, सिंपल वे टू explain this would be, for example, अगर आप मॉस्को और सीबर्ड को अगर आप इंपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं, तो you would import them with regards to their target variable. So you see that the मॉस्को में positive case is like 2 out of 5, तो उसके 0.4 बनता है, proportion बनता है of positive. तो आप इसके जो फीचर जनरेट करते हो, आप 0.4 मॉस्को को असाइन कर देते हैं और 0.8 सीबर्ड को, क्योंकि वो 3 out of 4 times it is positive case. The benefit of this is that it actually helps in creating correlation of your the feature variable with your target variable. Ordinal और जो वन हॉट encoding है, they don't provide you this feature. लेकिन इसका ड्रॉबैक भी ये है कि इसमें भी फिर से कोई बायस वेरिएंस ट्रेड ऑफ का इशू आ जाता है. Then finally normalizing attributes. तो आगे कि हम अपने वेरिएबल्स को स्केल करें या नहीं. तो ज़्यादा डेटा सेट में मसला ये होता है कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल इस डेटा सेट में जैसे मसला है कि हमारे पास एज होती है, तो एज की जो रेंज होगी वो होगी 17 से लेकर 70 या 80 तक. और अगर हम कैपिटल गेन की बात करें दैट वुड बी फ्रॉम 0 to 100 मिलियन. ये रेंजेस होती हैं. अब आप देख रहे हैं कि एक की रेंज इतनी छोटी और एक की रेंज जो वो 100 मिलियन तक एक्सटेंड कर दिया है. सो दैट फॉर सम मशीन लर्निंग एल्गोरिथम जो डिस्टेंस पे कैलकुलेशन बेस करते हैं इट वोंट बी सूटेबल फॉर दैट. इसके कुछ एग्जांपल्स ये है कि k नियरेस्ट नेबर्स हो गया या आपका ग्रेडियंट डिसेंट या PCA हो गया एल्गोरिथम. इन एल्गोरिथम्स में दिस थिंग वोंट वर्क क्योंकि PCA जो है वो वेरिएंस को यूज़ करता है और मॉडल बिल्ड करने में. तो अगर वेरिएंस इतनी ज़्यादा होगी और दूसरे की इतनी से डिफर करेगी तो वो एल्गोरिथम में इम्पैक्ट करेगा. सिमिलरली ग्रेडियंट डिसेंट में होता है अगर हम इफ यू आर यूजिंग अ ग्रेडियंट डिसेंट एल्गोरिथम एंड वी डोंट हैव अ फीचर्स नॉर्मलाइज सो that will actually increase the convergence time. LTA naive based या tree based models में इसकी जरूरत होती नहीं, so they are very robust to it. The two most important methods are standardization and normalization. Scaling के तरीके standardization में बस simple ये कि हम उसको 0 पे सेंटर कर देते हैं and then we use variance as जो हम standard deviation use करते हैं वो 1 करेंगे, unit standard deviation. तो हमारा डेटा जो है -1 से 1 तक होगा with center at mean. और normalization would actually differ from it. Normalization में we won't be centering it to any particular value, लेकिन we'll be ranging it from 0 to 1. For example, कुछ cases में ऐसा होता है कि हमें कुछ algorithms ऐसे कि जिनको सिर्फ numerical values चाहिए होती हैं, तो 0 to 1 से encode करने में उससे ये फायदा होता है कि आप सबको जो है एक ही रेंज में जाते हैं और उससे आपका कोई bias create नहीं होता है different variables के दरमियान. Scikit-learn आपको एक लाइब्रेरी प्रोवाइड करेगा min-max scaler and min-max scaler actually benefits you in the way कि वो आपको जो normalization के लिए min-max scaler काफ़ी अच्छा है. You can use it and it's simple parameters और आप अपनी values को 0 से लेकर 1 तक कर सकते हैं, range कर सकते हैं. As you can see अगर मैं यहाँ 2, 6, 10 और 18 जो y variables हैं उनको अगर मैं min-max scaler लगाऊँ so it ranges from 0 to 1 और बीच में सारी वैल्यूज है 0.25, 0.5. तो वो 2 से लेकर 18 को स्केल कर रहा है फ्रॉम 0 to 1. स्टैंडर्ड स्केलर वुड बी यूज्ड फॉर स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन और एज यू कैन सी कि वो इसको रेंज करे फ्रॉम -1 to 1 और क्योंकि इसमें मिड वेरिएबल अगर 0.5 होता तो उसको 0 कर देता, तो 0 पे सेंटर कर रहा है. देन मैक्सिमम एब्सोल्यूट स्केलर सो इट परफॉर्म सिमिलरली टू min-max स्केलर फिर इसमें ये होता है कि साइन कंसिडर नहीं किया जाता, तो वो सिर्फ एब्सोल्यूट वैल्यू को कंसिडर करता है. तो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने 2, 0 और -1 तो वो 2, 0, 1 कंसिडर करेगा, तो इस हिसाब से वो 1, 0, -0.5 हो जाएगा. तो 1 की फिर वो जो आप कह सकते हैं वो -1 से 2 नहीं करता, वो 0 से 2 करेगा. तो 1 की जो वेरिएबल पॉइंट 0.5 आ गई जो उसकी सेंटर वैल्यू आ गई स्केल करने के बाद, तो उसको -0.5 आ जाएगा. एंड लास्टली रोबस्ट स्केलर. तो इन सबसे इशू ये है कि अगर किसी डेटा में आउटलायर हो, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम कहें कि कराची की इनकम की बात करें और लोगों की इनकम क्या है हमें रिपोर्ट बनाए और फिर ऊपर से हमारे पास काफ़ी सारे बिलियनर्स आ जाएं, सिलिकॉन वैली के बिलियनर्स आ जाएं और फिर हम देखेंगे आउटलायर इतने ज़्यादा कोई बिलियन ऑफ डॉलर्स कमा रहे हैं और काफ़ी जो पॉपुलेशन है बस खुश हो गई एक साइड पर, यानी 0.5 या 0.005 से ऊपर नहीं जा रही. तो वो पे काफ़ी जो है एक तरह से डेटा में मॉडलिंग में इशू पैदा कर देता है. रोबस्ट स्केलर ये कर देता है कि वो इस आउटलायर इशू को खत्म कर देता है. तो वो डिफरेंट जो है स्टैटिस्टिकल मेथड यूज करता है. बाय डिफॉल्ट वो यूज करेगा इंटर-क्वार्टाइल रेंज और इंटर-क्वार्टाइल रेंज की बेसिस पे वो अपनी स्केलिंग करेगा. तो you can contact me on LinkedIn and through email. A few tips that I wanted to give was most of the things that I said in presentation, or as I said, it should be experimented by everyone. क्योंकि we can't say for certain कि कौन सा मेथड ज़्यादा किसी पे ज़्यादा applicable होता है. And I was recently able to go to Kaggle Days in Dubai, and was able to meet a person who was actually second in Kaggle ranking. His name was Deepa. He won like 45 gold medals, and he had a global ranking of being number 2 in Kaggle. And when I asked him this question, कि feature importance में what would be the most important thing to do, so he said that strategy they would actually lend several samples of the training set. तो करते क्या है कि जैसे सैम्पलिंग में हम करते हैं वो ट्रेनिंग के काफ़ी सैंपल्स लेंगे और सब पे डिफरेंट जो है ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन टेक्निक्स अप्लाई करेंगे। तो किसी पे वो एक तरह का स्केलर यूज़ करेंगे, किसी में नॉर्मलाइजेशन यूज़ करेंगे और फिर उसके रिजल्ट को ब्लेंड करेंगे और इससे ये होता है कि जो रिजल्ट होते हैं वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग होते हैं एंड दैट इज़ वन ऑफ द मेन ट्रिक्स टू इन विनिंग कॉम्पिटिशन। So thank you for listening.